Hey, a Bat Bunch! My name is Yam Albat. I make educational videos on character design and creator culture, and today I would like to discuss how to enjoy your hobby social media, regardless of what kind of thing you post. First of all, thank you everyone for 15,000 YouTube subscribers. I decided I would like to experiment getting out a video super fast by not scripting my video today. And I also want to bring some more authenticity to the table just because of the nature of today's topic. So today I thought we could discuss how I personally have lessened the stress around my YouTube channel. I've learned to have fun again, and how I have recovered after a long period of stressing over this channel, then burning out, and having a lot of life changes. So I hope that my own personal mindset that I'm sharing with you today can help you enjoy the creative process of whatever you're doing just a bit more. I feel like what we're discussing today can apply to any hobby or internet community. I feel like nowadays the expectation to take whatever you're doing on social media and going professional with it is a lot of pressure, and it's easy to get stressed out thinking, okay, how can I make this more professional? How can I take this to the next level? And today we're gonna kind of discuss the opposite. We're gonna talk about how to just have a hobby that you share with the world, but you don't necessarily put all that stress on yourself to be constantly improving and constantly grinding to get more and better content out there. The first point I wanted to discuss was setting boundaries and curating your community. Now, boundaries sound harsh, but what boundaries really are they're kind of like promises you make to yourself in order to keep things fun and not stressful. For instance, a boundary can be setting a limit on how much content you put out to avoid burning out. For instance, you could say, I'm only going to take on one painting every month, or I'm only going to stream once a week. And this amount can be something that you've experimented with over time and decided that that pace really works for you. If you're anything like me, I'm someone who is a very ruthless and unkind boss to myself. So a lot of the times I would put a lot of pressure on myself to get a lot of content out every month. I had a lot of projects that I would juggle, and I was ruthless to myself. I would say, okay, you're not allowed to get up from this chair until the script is written. And that wasn't respectful to myself. But boundaries aren't just in the amount of content you make. They can be in your community as well. Something I've learned over time is to ban ruthlessly. Don't think of it as a personal thing, more like curating your community. Because bad chatters in your community really ruin it for everyone, not just you. If you feel awkward by what they're telling you, then chances are the rest of your community also feels that awkwardness. It's really hard as a recovering people pleaser to be strong, especially when bad community members are whining or begging for unbans or another chance. So what I can say if you are really struggling is to get a few friends to clean up your community for you. I think the people who struggle with this the most are young and inexperienced content creators, especially ones that only have a few viewers or a few commenters. But I'm telling you, it's better to post to 0 people than have a handful of disrespectful viewers or commenters. Because what's going to happen is people are going to see the disrespectful messages on your content and think either that's the vibe of your community and you tolerate disrespect so they can join in the disrespect, or they're going to see all the toxic messages and decide this community is not them, and you've lost someone who was going to be respectful to you from joining your community. Do not tolerate disrespect. Do not be a doormat. Have courage, because at the end of the day, you are the biggest influence on who you end up garnering in your community. If you are so focused on keeping the viewers you have, you're gonna scare away the viewers that you actually want. So just like cleaning out your closet, I recommend keeping the community members that spark joy and respectfully parting ways with the ones that do not spark joy. I'm still working on this myself. It's been a very long, drawn-out journey since 2020 where I have constantly learned to put up more and more boundaries with my audience, and I've learned to respect my own wishes. If there's something that someone's begging me to do, if I don't feel like doing it, I'm not going to do it anymore. But when I started streaming, I was the biggest people pleaser, and that just attracted people that wanted to disrespect me. So if you show your audience that you're strong and you have a lot of self-respect, then they're going to end up respecting you. And if they don't respect you, then they're not worthy audience members to keep around. There's something really empowering about keeping your personal life private from your audience. You have to realize that your audience members are not owed any information about you, your loved ones, or what's happening in your life. I find the more private I am, the more relaxed I am as a creator. Back when I would overshare to my audience, I had a lot of people with the expectation that I would continue to share every aspect of my life, which gave me a lot of pressure. And I would stress out about, should I share this with my audience? I kind of want to keep this private, but, they're demanding to know what happened. Just do yourself a favor and draw that big line in the sand. If you feel uncomfortable sharing anything with your audience, then just tell them, I'm not comfortable sharing that. Move on with your day. My next point is to just stay out of drama if you want to enjoy what you do. The best way to do this is to keep your social media and your content just light and breezy. By social media, I really mean Twitter and platforms like it. I totally think if you're doing this as a hobby, having memes, shower thoughts, silly posts, or even a super disorganized social media in general is totally okay. If you're not trying to be a professional, you shouldn't have the pressure that comes with being a professional. However, I would really carefully consider taking stances on any kind of current events or community issues because they are divisive and they can age really poorly. I would also recommend staying away from responding to any kind of internet discourse or drama, even if a cause is really important to you. If you are, for instance, posting your artwork on social media or your photography on social media, and you suddenly start talking about something really serious, depressing, or anger-inducing, that's going to take the joy away from your own social media account. Not just from your viewers, but from yourself. I really feel like social media can tend to suck us in through anger-inducing posts, sadness-inducing posts, because that keeps us on their platforms more than happy posts. And that's why internet communities generally kind of trend towards being unhappy and being divisive. It's because all of us are addicted to sadness and anger because of these social media platforms. So do yourself a favor and just stay out of community issues, drama, and serious topics on your creative hobby social media. Something else that I really recommend you doing to keep your social media lighthearted and attracting positive followers is to solve private issues in private. If you drag your private issues public, then you are going to attract an audience that is here for the drama. If at all possible, solve all your issues in direct messages or private chats, and be really careful about what exactly you apologize publicly for. Not every issue or criticism against you deserves an apology because a lot of them aren't as big of a deal as it feels like in the moment. If you've hurt someone, apologize to them privately and move on with your life. And if no one was hurt, move on making the lighthearted content. For our next point, I'd like to talk about finding friends and then ignoring the greater community. Whatever internet community you are in, there's going to be sucky people, there's going to be big dramas that everyone's talking about, and there's going to be a lot of negativity. No matter what internet community you are in, you're going to think, oh man, this community is the most toxic community on the internet. It's probably not. All communities I've been in have been kind of equally toxic, and that is because the aforementioned anger addiction that everyone tends to have on the internet. So if you're trying to get into a new hobby or internet community, what I actually recommend is to follow a few people, then sort your social media by following and not the recommended page. There's a lot of plugins you can use for browsers to block the infinite scroll aspect of whatever app you're using. I would recommend finding like-minded creators through something like Discord or other chat groups rather than trying to find people through social media. I think finding people through places like Twitter can be done and can be rewarding, but negativity just outweighs the bad, in my opinion. I've kind of found my tribe and then become a social media hermit. If you don't want to become a social media hermit, what I recommend you doing is schedule some weekly or monthly time to use the discovery function of social media and network in that allotted time. I would set a timer for like an hour where you have unbridled access to Twitter so that you can find some more people, make some connections, and then once that hour's up, I would turn your browser plugin back on and become a hermit again for the next month or so, just to keep your sanity. If you're feeling really negative or burnt out about your internet community, I would very much recommend not following any kind of current events or drama YouTube channels until you start feeling better. I mean, this is the same advice that I would give to people who are very stressed out about current events. I would tell them to maybe turn off the news for a little bit and take a walk, and they might just feel better. We as humans are just not equipped to deal with the amount of negativity out there on the internet. So yeah, basically find your tribe and then become a hermit, and you will have a lot better of a time on the internet. I would really recommend having a creative outlet separate from your YouTube channel that you keep to yourself and don't show your audience. It really helps you to not become dependent on external validation, feeling like the only thing that matters is how much the internet likes what you do. Likewise, I would have a separate income. That's just from my personal experience. YouTube is a lot less fun when you're doing it for a job. I would even consider not monetizing your hobby at all if you're really struggling with the numbers addiction. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're like, yeah, how could you suggest not making your YouTube channel a side hustle in this terrible economy? And I totally get it, but there is a huge burden off your shoulders when you take away that numbers game. Something that happened when my YouTube channel got monetized was I let the comparison and numbers slowly creep into my life, and I stopped making content that didn't do well in the algorithm. And that was a big recipe for burnout because I felt like every upload that didn't do well must have been bad content. And that's not true in the slightest. Some of the videos that I'm the most proud of did terrible in the algorithm. So having a separate income, a different day job, and not relying on my YouTube channel to feed myself and my animals really allowed me to start enjoying my YouTube channel again. My YouTube channel became the hobby that I cannot wait to get home to do after work instead of becoming the ball and chain itself. I actually find that being away from my hobby for a portion of the day helps me to build interest in that hobby. Like, man, I can't wait to go home and record this video. That was actually me today. Which is amazing because my original dream of this channel was to become a popular VTuber, join a VTuber agency, and then stream 5 days a week to an audience of thousands. And now that's something that sounds incredibly unattractive to me now. I actually enjoy my work-life balance a lot more when I just work a set amount of hours every day. Then I can do whatever else I want with my day with no pressure of uploading deadlines or pressure to follow up on a series that I just don't feel like making. Which leads into my next point, which is if you're reluctant to make something, just hit the pause button and make something else. If you get halfway through a painting and realize, man, I really don't like the way this painting is going, just set it aside and see if you ever want to return to it. Same with making YouTube videos. There's so many videos that I just didn't finish, and I don't regret my decision to not finish them because something in my gut was telling me that this video is just not turning out quite right. And that's okay. When YouTube is just your hobby, you don't owe your audience every single upload idea. My friend Princess Roska actually told me this really groundbreaking piece of advice. I don't know if she meant it like that, but it became like mind-blowing to me. She talked about how she has so many hobbies that she kind of uses them in a rotation. So she'll get really into ASMR for a bit, and then she'll get into sewing, and then she'll get back into baking, and then she'll get back into violin. And she kind of uses her hobbies in rotation so that she doesn't get too burnt out in one hobby. And I think I'm gonna adopt that as someone who is into way too many creative things. Oh, and another point. Do not promise your audience anything. If you are a hobbyist, don't promise your audience anything because you might not feel like keeping that promise. I have unfortunately made a lot of promises to my audience that I couldn't keep because I didn't feel like making that content anymore. Venture, no. I think it's again that people-pleasing side of me that just wants to promise the world for my audience because I appreciate and I love them so much, but I have to be real with myself and set my boundary of not making any promises to my audience because I know now that I often cannot keep the promises I make, which is disappointing to myself just as much as it's disappointing to my audience because you see these creators that are doing amazing things and you just want to tell yourself, oh, I can do that. But really, being quiet about the bigger projects you're planning and then surprising your audience when they do come out versus telling your audience over and over that you have big plans and then not delivering on those plans because you're burnt out is a big difference. And quite frankly, it's bad for your audience's feelings towards your integrity. So it's something that I have learned to set firm boundaries with. That takes so much stress off of forcing myself to complete projects I am no longer feeling like completing. Similarly, I recommend that if you don't like one part of your creative process, experiment with taking it out. Right now, I am experimenting with taking out scripts from my video making process because I was having a lot of anxiety with the script I was writing, so I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the script out and see what happens. You guys can be the judge of how it actually turns out. This next piece of advice is for the beginner creators out there, which is don't sweat the small stuff. I think I've contributed to creators and VTubers overthinking the design process with my own channel. I have a lot of people coming to me like, I don't know if my VTuber concept is good enough, I don't know if this design is good enough because it doesn't check all the boxes that you presented in your video, and I feel really bad about that. I didn't mean for my videos to be taken as gospel, as in, this is what every single design must have, and if they don't have all these things, then they're trash. That is not what I meant. I really just wanted to inspire people to improve on their character designs and give them a few ideas on how to do it. But I think overthinking and anxiety with mistakes or things being flawed is what kills most creators. I think creators are their own worst enemies, and I think that's why a lot of YouTube channels die, is simply everyone is obsessed with improving at a rapid pace with everything they do. If your YouTube channel is your hobby, you don't have to be constantly getting better. Heck, you can actually get worse over time, but it's your hobby. You're supposed to enjoy it. You really don't need to put all that pressure on yourself to become just as good at your hobby as a professional. Professionals have sacrificed time with family, they have sacrificed other potential careers just to perfect their craft. And the moment you're sacrificing other things you enjoy just for a hobby, I think it's time to step back and remind yourself why you're doing this hobby. And if you find yourself in this anxious improvement loop, I recommend writing down one thing you would like to improve on and ignore everything else. Let's say you are learning a new instrument and there's all these things that you can improve on. You can improve on your tone, you can improve on your dynamics, sight reading, your scales, and you can improve on being in tune. And if you throw all of those concepts at a new student of this instrument, they're going to be super overwhelmed. So what you need to do is to pick one of those 5 things and say, okay, this month I'm going to focus on playing more in tune. And then once you feel confident in that one skill, you can move on to the next one. This will make things more approachable, and it'll give you that sense of accomplishment of improving without getting incredibly overwhelmed. Because again, creative hobbies are meant to be enjoyed, and expecting perfectionism from the thing that's supposed to be there in your life to relax you is a recipe for disaster. Another thing I see hobbyist YouTubers doing with their accounts is that they pigeonhole themselves into too small of a niche. Algorithms love to do this to us, where if one video does well, they encourage us to make another banger of a video exactly like it. And then pretty soon, you've kind of been typecast into this one style of content for as long as they can milk you for it. This is part of the reason why I burnt out on my YouTube channel, was I was really only allowing myself to explore one type of content, and I really beat the dead horse, even though I was way past burnt out. It's scary to ignore how a video is going to perform, but I just encourage you to try new things anyways, and allow yourself to grow out of the things you started the channel for. Follow your own changing interests and post about it. Post about your honest feelings, like, hey guys, I'm expanding the channel to include this hobby because, well, I'm feeling kind of burnt out of the original hobby. You're gonna lose subscribers. People are used to having incredibly curated YouTube channels, but again, this is your hobbyist YouTube channel, so you shouldn't be comparing yourself with people who are making this their primary income. Take your channel wherever the wind blows you, and just try to ignore YouTube telling you that your performance is down, because it's not worth stifling your own creativity over what Google and the rest of your audience wants to see. And finally, for peace of mind, I recommend staying organized and keeping your old work. If you have everything you need for your hobby in one place, it is much less stressful to pick that hobby back up. As YouTubers, we accumulate a lot of files and graphics, and if all your graphics are in one place and easy to find and well labeled, continuing to upload on your channel will be a lot less stressful. And with the latter point of keeping your old work, I recommend this for everyone because keeping your old work is motivating to look back on later on. You don't have to keep your old work public if you find it really embarrassing, but one of my favorite things to do when I am burnt out on one of my hobbies, whether it be art, YouTube, or music, is to just pull up my old work and see how far I've come. Part of the reason why I decided to not quit YouTube was just how many stream VODs I've accumulated, how many videos I have made, how many hours I have put into this channel. Now, a lot of the content I used to make is privated at this point because I do find it embarrassing, or I think it doesn't match my current vibe. But just knowing the fact that I have created this much content, I've practiced making things as a VTuber this long, really does motivate me to keep going, even if the content I make now is totally different than the content I used to make. I think there's something really magical about reflecting on your own journey and realizing just how much you've changed, grown, and improved. If you go back and watch my VTuber debut from 2020, that girl in front of the computer is recognizable at all. Well, quite literally unrecognizable because I have changed my character a few times. But genuinely, when I look back on my old content, I see someone who wasn't sure of herself at all. I see someone who was lonely and in search of other creator friends. And I see someone who was using content creation as a way to chase validation as a creator. I did not realize just how much growing I needed to do in order to have a healthy mindset as a hobbyist creator. I kept telling myself throughout the years, oh, of course I'm a hobbyist creator. Of course, I'm not doing this as a professional. I am not a professional. But really, I was lying to myself because I was giving myself the pressure of putting out professional work, despite this being my hobby. Especially when my channel started to do better and better, I felt more pressure to listen to my audience instead of creating what I actually wanted to create. And by giving into the pressure of my audience, I only encouraged the behavior of demanding things from me. I really had to learn how to set boundaries, allow myself to grow beyond the niche of content I originally started this channel for. I had to learn to embrace the parts of my content that are unpolished by accepting that unpolished creations just have a human element to them that perfectly polished creations do not. And getting a job outside of YouTube was a huge part of that. I think if I was still doing YouTube for an income, I would have quit completely by now. Because the pressure to just continually make incredibly polished content in a respectable, consistent upload time frame? No! What was I saying? Because the pressure of following an upload schedule while constantly improving the quality of my videos and meeting all my audience expectations was simply too much. I really started to evaluate my journey and how the goalpost of what I thought I wanted versus what I actually wanted to do on YouTube was so drastically different. I am so much happier now that all the pressure is off my shoulders to constantly catch up on my script backlog, pulling all-nighters to meet my own editing deadline, generally getting to create when I want to create, give up when I want to give up, focus on the parts of content creation I actually enjoy, has been so freeing, so uplifting, and I really appreciate the people who have been so understanding in me realizing what I actually want to do. And I hope that all the hobbyist creators out there, whether you are a YouTuber, a streamer, an artist, can find this video of my own realizations helpful in making your own creative process just a bit more enjoyable. That's all I really wanted to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this upload. If not, that's okay too. Feel free to share your own experiences about content creation in the comments. I'll be down there responding casually on my breaks at work. Thank you everyone for supporting me up until this point through the 4.5 years I have been going, and thank you guys again for 15,000 subscribers. Here's to just creating, putting stuff out there. Hope you guys enjoy your creative hobbies, and as always, take care, Bat Bunch.